Associate Professor and Head, Department of Hospital Management, HNGU Patan. I request candidate to introduce yourself and start the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Jacob, first you introduce yourself and then start presenting.
Thank you, sir. So myself, Alex Jacob. So let me start with my presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Vice Chancellor, Dean, respected guide, Dr. Rajesh Rathod, sir, all other professors, faculty members, and my dear friends. So today, as you know, today is my presentation day. My topic of my study is a critical analysis of liquidity risk management practices in selected banks of India. So just like before I start with my presentation, let me run through how I would be taking through my presentations, that whole presentation, how I have lined up. So feel free if you have any doubts, stop me in presentation and feel free to ask any doubt. If I clear right away, I can clarify, or I will try to clarify. If I'm getting covered in those topics which you ask in my upcoming presentation, I will take you and I will advise you how I will be covering there. Still, if you want to clear any portion, if I don't have that one, I may try to cover up at the end of the presentation. So let me take you to the content. Banking system and various types of risk I'll be covering today, liquidity and its importance, risk design and objective, research study and its limitation, research methodology, objective of primary research data, that is data survey, and liquidity risk management, analysis and interpretation of my primary data, summary of my primary data, and apart from that, I just would like to tell you that I have done secondary data as well. So I'll be covering secondary data, my selection of banks, regression analysis on secondary data, summary of secondary data, conclusion and future research scope in my study, and how this research is important for me. So just give you a brief background, like this research I have done in my banking field. So as you are aware of that, apart from other type of financial institutions or other investment bank, insurance firms, non-banking financial institutions. So banking system work like this, where banks are the middlemen or financial intermediaries between the depositories, which is supplier of fund, and the borrowers who accept these deposits from the depositories and provide it to the borrower and earn profit. Because the banks are using others' money to generate a profit, strict restriction is required, and thus you are aware of that there is regulatory authorities like RBI. So that is how this banking segment or sector has been streamlined. Let me take you through the risk which bank is covering, just for the info to show you that what all type of risk banks have. So majority it is divided into financial and non-financial risk. Even though liquidity is the risk which is directly related to market risk, but it is convoluted, or you can say commingled up to a great extent with credit risk. So my topic is liquidity risk, but it is very much correlated with credit risk, and hence in my presentation at many places you will see that I will be mentioning about credit risk along with the liquidity risk, as it goes hand in hand. So that is why, so this area, if you see, liquidity risk, even though covered under market risk, so there is a separate area altogether in credit risk, which is somehow correlated. Now liquidity. So liquidity can be defined as ability to honor or discharge its maturity obligations. These maturity obligations are composed of current liabilities and long-term debts, which usually bank hold. So there can be assets in which which can be quickly converted into liquid cash without any loss and values to meet short-term liabilities. So that is how banks are managing. Liquid assets are again comprises of cash and bank balance, debtors, and marketable securities. Bank liquidity has two significant interrelated dimensions, which is money liquidity, which refer to the market financing, and asset liquidity connected with asset sales. Assets are actually long-term fixed assets, or any, it can covered by any long-term or short-term. So this is how banks are taking care of. So they tend to interact with each other towards the mutual increase. Now in RBI, they have further divided this structure as per RBI guidelines maturity bracket into three segments or three broad classifications. So you can see there are 10 buckets here, but RBI has divided into three buckets, which they call it as short term, medium term, and long term. So any maturity which is covering within 6 months, you can see up to cycle 6 or like up to serial number 6, that is under short term. Medium term, which is maturing in 6 months, and longer but not more than 3 years. So up 7th and 8th cycle covered under medium term, and long term maturity, which is maturing in 3 years or longer, that is covered under long term maturity. So example, mortgage loan, which goes even to like 20-25 years, that all are getting covered under long term maturity obligations. Now my research design, so I have taken exploratory research. My study objective, I just want to like discover the impact of liquidity risk management on my profitability of commercial banks, to contemplate and study the effect of credit risk management and liquidity of commercial banks. I have compared my impact of credit risk management on profitability and liquidity in private bank as well as in public sector banks. And I just like done this research to understand the bankers' perception on credit risk management, that is on the liquidity risk. Data collection, I have done a further research angle as advised by my guide. So I have done both primary information or like data collected at primary and done short research on that one. Secondary information also. These days, like through internet, you can get many sort of information. Manuals and journals I have referred, audit annual reports I have referred, economic data, and RBI regulation and guidelines. So in like maybe you can say after 2015 or 2016, RBI started providing data on their website. So I have referred a lot of that data to see my research are like making sense, or where I like know that my research direct me in terms of this one. So nature and scope of study limited to few large commercial bank in both public sector in India. Study mainly focus on aspect of like credit risk management, which is like liquidity in commercial bank. I have also done the scope of study in like credit risk management and profitability and relationship among the liquidity of the banks. Bankers' opinion also have been included in my study. Limitation of study, I have taken 10 commercial banks, 5 from public sector and 5 from private sector. So only I have taken only large commercial banks so that like my data makes sense and considered for my research work. For primary data, I have taken 3 cities and 3 banks are considered just for primary data, and study consider on approximately 2006 to 2018 and 19 period. So just like all that financials here I have covered, which I will be discussing in my future presentation or like future slides, right? The data on bankers' perception is like it's new, but secondary data has not been triangulated with primary data, so I have just kept it both separate. Results are like I have tried to present my results separately. Research methodology for both primary and secondary, I have done the research methodology. I have taken quantitative data, and qualitative I have excluded because qualitative may dilute the data. So I have just excluded qualitative. Qualitative may be just for a viewpoint of view, I have kept it, but mostly I have taken quantitative, so that makes more sense. Secondary data collected from various sources, as I have already told you, from the journal, books, internet, etc. Real time data, which is published in public and private sector banks, which RBI is populating. Money control I have used, National Institute of Banking Management, that is like there are like website which is available to cover all this data, and Basel committee report also I have referred. Primarily I have taken opinion for primary data. I have taken opinion for more than 85 to 90 employees now of these banks, which I will be covering in my upcoming slide. But just for your information, I have circulated this to 250 employees. So wherever I have not got the complete response, so that survey I have totally excluded, and I have just taken the completed data from these. So that is why even though I have done research on 250 to little more, like maybe 260 something employees, 250 to 60 employees, but I have only covered, or like in my research I have included the data which I have got the complete response from these 85 clients. So you will see that is why my numbers are little less, but it was a detailed study. Objective of my primary data survey is just to see the liquidity risk management, how they manage. Purpose of risk is just to provide Indian banks what are the issues which are facing now, and that detailed findings has been derived from few factors which I will be populating. Objective of primary data is to cover different aspects of liquidity risk management in these banks, in the covered banks, identifying key risk factor for affecting liquidity risk management, to understand the challenges which mostly these banks face and techniques banks are using to day to day tackling these situations or these issues. Now primary data, so if you see, so I have taken 3 banks, HDFC, ICICI and Axis Bank, to cover my primary research. As I've already told you, 240 to 250, actually it was little more, but some were very just 2, 3 in my survey, 2, 3 answers. So I have just already excluded. Some mostly covered, but some are still not coming, or major questions have not been answered. So only 85 has been taken from this research, which was thorough. Questionnaire has been answered with proper response. Male female ratio, if I study of these respondent, I see 67% are male and 33 are female. It may be a cause also that mostly the working class is of male. So this tilt towards 67% male is not because I have taken something, because working class is mostly male. So that may be the reason. Experience, which when I talk about these employees who are working in a bank, are not any probationary officer who are on probation period who don't understand the bank. The officers who are more than 2 to 3 years of experience, and even ranging up to 20 years, like operations heads and all, they are sitting there. Those opinions I have more combined, right? Data source, both secondary and primary data I have used. So as you see, it's both data. Now there are many factors which I have covered in my study, like liquidity risk and other factor for the liquidity risk. So if you see that banks who have responded, if you see that there are approximately 70% banks, they have admitted that they face this type of liquidity risk. 30% either they have not committed their risk, or maybe they have kept silent, or maybe they are not even aware of that there are certain sort of risk which is appearing. Maybe because staff is so junior, they are not aware of this risk which the higher management is taking care of or catering this risk, right? 12% approximately contestant or the respondent, they say that purchasing of new tool can combat this type of problem. However, 88% of the respondent who has responded, they said we are using our existing tool, so that is well serving our issues of any sort of contingency. Reduction of interest rate, they say due to reduced liquidity, interest rate goes up, which reduces the demand for the fund, and this is one of the liquidity risk which banks are facing. So 91% they agree that reduction of interest rate is one of the cause of liquidity risk management. There are respondents who say that primary function of this bank is just liquidity risk management. So they are well aware that 90% say that the main function of the bank is not just borrowing and lending, they have to manage the liquidity risk as well, just for the bank to well functioning their operations. And analysis and interpretation of primary data, we can see that 2016 and 2017, which is majority there when they have experienced a liquidity risk problem. So total taken together, approximately 70% of the data state that 2016 and 2017 they experience a liquidity risk problem. So as you all remember, this is the second phase after recession in 2007 and 8, where 2016 and 17, when economy was in boom, again they started feeling the same impact of liquidity risk problem, right? So technique used to find out this liquidity risk problem, you can see auditing and inspection, where when they conducted this audit, they found out 65% approximately can be studied that they have identified at auditing or inspection stage. Rest all there was workshops where they conduct reviews, internal reviews, which comprises 20%, and there are balanced small factors which is not that major, but yes, still those are part of analysis of interpretation of this liquidity risk problems. Liquidity problem, causes of liquidity problem, one is credit risk, which says that approving their credit without having proper background on the customer or without knowing the standing of the customer, that is majority of the credit risk is due to 70% constitute of this total liquidity problem. There are concentration of loan where they have given loan to their customer who along with their company account or their household. When we say household, household means that one company has a branch or a subsidiary company. When they go to take funding for these subsidiary companies, when the main company bursts, this subsidiary company is also out of funds to meet their payment, because subsidiary company's main income source is from the main company, because they may be like producing or manufacturing some sort of parts or like manufacturing product which they are supplying to their main company. So that is also a part of like concentration risk which they are facing. There are some clients who have done some sort of fraud and like vanish from the country. You all are aware of it. I do not want to name them. Like because of this also the credit risk or liquidity problem arise, because when they have financed this up to a great extent to these customer who has like just taken this finance and like not intended to repay back, or just not like using in their companies, or maybe they used it but like then they later realize that okay, this like we won't be able to pay, so then they vanish. So that again is like major. So this liquidity problem, because my research itself is a liquidity like area to cover, I have like detailed gone this, even though you just see only a small point here, but that constitute a problem criteria here. What are the causes? Loan sector, how bank has divided their loan sector. Business sectors 30%, where like small and medium enterprises. Industrial sector, where there are like big conglomerate or like big corporates, or where they require this to grow their corporate further or extend it to other countries or international business. There also like they have constitute 20-25% customers who fall under this loan criteria. Our government is supporting a lot on agriculture sector, so approximately 25% of this loan sector fall part in agriculture. Real estate, yes, they start some sort of with some sort of funding, but just to grow their real estate business they require funding, so approximately 15% real estate. And our country is also helping students like me or like other people who wants to go abroad and study, or like to start their career, they provide education loan. So approximately 5% goes into education loan. Risk management process. So when we say or like how to this risk management, how they cater or like the area to curb this liquidity causes, strongly 40% agreed that yes, this risk management process they cover this one. 60% they disagree. Maybe they disagree seeing this, that there are so many liquidity problem in our bank, so 60% still agree. So there may be some sort of further detailed review on this all criteria to further curb these issues which is coming in the banking sector. So banking risk type, so there may be certain risk type. Liquidity, so we have already covered, like I have just like given you a snap of all type of risk. Credit risk covers 40%, liquidity risk covers 20%. So there are other factor like market and operational risk which cover 15% and 10% respectively. There are foreign exchange risk, interest rate risk. Interest rate risk, see here interest rate risk, how it bothers. Just giving a snapshot, I know this is not area, but just because I belong from banking industry. Interest rate risk is like when customer do some sort of export or import and increase in interest rate for export, it harms, or like decrease in interest rate for import, it harms. So that is why like a vice versa cycle attached to this interest rate also, which is again a risk. So very few customer who are aware to hedge their risk by taking a currency conversion. That currency conversion and interest rate risk also can be carved out up to a certain extent if these clients are briefed on this risk before they get into some sort of transaction, right? Let me take you through my other slides. So just like a summary on this, I've already briefed, but just give you a feel of the summary. As I said, 200, approximately 250 plus minus 10, maybe 40 to 60. So approximately 250 has been surveyed, 85 plus responded, maybe 87 or 88, which I like vaguely remember. So I have concluded those in my primary survey support. 70% feel, as I have already briefed you, that liquidity problem is there. 30% feel they don't know. Respondent who are facing in last 4 years, I have like covered 2016-17 is the major one, carried along with 2018 and 19. 90% feel that it's a primary function of the bank, credit risk or liquidity risk, and techniques which they found to cover this liquidity risk is like 65% auditing. Like there are certain reasons which we have covered, fraud, and which I have taken into you in detail. Maximum loan concentration was business sector, followed by industry and agriculture, if you remember, 25%. Right, major factor which adversely affect these consequences. So I focused on 40% on credit risk. That focus which we got from the survey is 40% credit risk, followed by like liquidity and market risk. Now let me just take you through how I have done the secondary data. Let me just take you through that secondary data as well. So the research conducted in the thesis is focused on finding a relationship between credit risk and profitability, as well as the relationship between credit risk management and liquidity. So we have formulated 4 hypotheses, performed t-tests through multivariate regression. So outcome from this regression has been derived, the impact of independent variables on the dependent variables and the interrelationship has been studied. So by me on this research. So the hypothesis which has been tested for each individual bank sector wise and all 10 banks together as well. So the hypothesis which I have conducted, so I have conducted hypothesis between each bank. So these 10 banks, private and public, 10 bank individually, like compare 1:1, sector wise, that means private bank and public sector banks like 5 and 5, and all 10 banks together. So data which I have retrieved, which I have taken from like RBI site or from Money Control or from other journals or like other news related data, I have compared data which I have retrieved from the year 2006 to 2016. Now selection of banks. So as I've already said, I have done research on secondary research on these 10 banks. So from the Indian economy, I have selected 5 banks from public and 5 from private sector to study the impact of this liquidity risk management between these sectors. Yes, sir.
Axis Bank, it's a record, it's a Axis, AXIS.
Yeah.
Axis
It's just a
Bank.
spelling mistake, sir. Axis Bank. Thanks for pointing it out, sir. So 5 private bank and 5 public bank I have covered. So these are all like well banked, we all are aware of. Let me take you to the regression analysis which I have done on my secondary data. So detailed hypothesis I have conducted based on the data which I have extracted from 10 years, which is 2006 to 2016 for 5 public bank and 5 private banks. So data has been extracted from the reliable sources which I have already told you for the research, and have been analyzed in the detailed base for the below mentioned 3 factors. That is like credit risk management, profitability of the banks, and liquidity of assets. So these ratios I will be covering in detail. The level of significance which I have conducted for this is I have taken 95% confidence level, that is like 5% like hypothesis. So the p value which I have abstracted from our table is 0.018. So based on that, so if any value needed for rejection of null hypothesis, then it has to fall below 0.018. So let me just take you to the my research which I have done on credit risk management. Capital adequacy under credit risk management, I have taken capital adequacy ratio and NPLR, that is like non-performing loan ratios. So capital adequacy, just give you a background, capital adequacy in banks, how they take it is like they take the tier 1 capital divided by risk weighted asset. I have not put it here, but just like this is just a definition, I thought it will be good. Just last moment I thought just like take you through this one. So tier 1 capital, when they say tier 1 capital, it is just like our shareholders fund, or like consist of ordinary share capital which they issue in the market, intangible assets also, and audited revenues, that extra revenues which they cover, that they cover under tier 1 capital. So tier 2 capital, if you ask me, it is getting covered here in capital adequacy ratio. They don't take tier 3 capital. So tier 2 capital, this is just like unaudited retained earnings also, which like interim balance sheet or financials which they cover, they also take this up. Any capital absorb, like losses they absorb, they just take it out from this one. So that capital is just like a cushion which absorb the loss for the bank. So that is why, so we see capital adequacy ratio and non-performing. Non-performing, I think mostly we are aware of. Non-performing is refers to the loan or advances which are in default or are in arrears, where like either principal or interest, one of the customer like payment are like missed or they are late, and then it start moving into different buckets. So loan is defaulted and lender considered that loan agreement to broke, and then these funds move from normal account to some bad debts reserve. So those are non-performing. So let's see how this ratio, like which we have done the detailed study, has worked. So I have taken these 5 banks ratio. I have taken their like averages, which is mean, their growth and ranking based on the ratio. So just a second, let me move the screen a bit. Yeah, so you can see the rankings of these ratios as well. Let me just take you, so because this is just like a numbers which do not make sense to you, but let me take you through a graphical representation of these numbers. Capital adequacy ratio. So as I already said, the better management of credit risk, which we analyze from the mean of each bank for each of these ratios. Ranking has been done on the basis of the growth, and credit risk management has been covered. So capital adequacy ratios, if you see from the mean, we can see that Kotak Mahindra Bank is approximately 17.55, which was in my earlier slide, that data was best in terms of credit risk management, followed by ICICI Bank, which is approximately 17.1. So bank BOI was the least credit risk management, and ICICI Bank occupied the first position in terms of growth. So ICICI Bank is first in terms of credit risk management growth, followed by Kotak Mahindra, whereas Canara Bank was in the last position. So this is just a graphical representation of my data. Let me see if I can take it back, of this data which I have represented graphically there. So I have put all mean, growth and ranking in terms of graph, which make us easy to understand, because just a data point of view, if I go and try to dig into this data, we may not be able to, right? So it doesn't make any sense. So that is why I just try to portray it graphically. Professors has advised me just put it in graphical way, so that it is like easy for us to understand and make a sense out of it. So all the top performers I have denoted in green color, like Kotak Mahindra in terms of like averages, and least performers in red color, right? Ranking wise, I have presented graphically for all these years, and I have just put a rank wise numbers. Down growth also, you can see green representing in red, green representing the winners, or the growth which are going into a negative growth, I put it in red. So there may be 2 or more banks in negative, but you will see only the least performing or the last which is coming has been put in red. So there are not multiple green or multiple red, just a graphical representation, so that like upcoming graph will make like easy sense in reading. So same way I have performed like NPLR as well, where I've just put it up in like the same pattern. So this just to give a glimpse of it, like all that I have in my study, I've said that I have done research on like each bank individually, sector wise bank, and all 10 banks as together, because as a one nation I have studied this and just trying to see the impact of all 10 bank as a group. That is why I'm just representing only these numbers, so it is just like much easy reference what bank irrespective of category is performing what, or where are they standing, right? Let me take you through the graphical representation. So here again, NPLR from the mean, we can see that PNB was the foremost in terms of credit risk management, followed by SBI, where HDFC Bank performed the worst. Here HDFC Bank in mean performed the worst, because mean average wise they have not increased. IndusInd Bank occupied the first position with respect to the growth, and followed by the HDFC Bank. The least position occupied by Canara Bank. So here when you say that mean, that means HDFC Bank. Now you may be seeing that PNB is highest, but still it is marked in red, because this is non-performing loan ratio. That means higher the loan ratio, the worst scenario bank is in. So that is how that HDFC, which were able to maintain a mean at the minimum, stand first in the group, right? Okay, let's move to profitability. So same way, profitability I have further divided, like profitability of bank can be studied from return on equity, that is like on equity. That means because shareholders are not bothered what bank is making, shareholders are bothered what we are making. Because if I hold bank like shares HDFC or ICICI, how much return I am getting. That is what shareholders are worried about. Same way, banks are worried about, like, on my asset, how much I am making. So just a glimpse, like net income divided by shareholders equity will give you a return on equity, and return on net asset, as you say, that like total income divided by their total assets. So net income taking all the loss out from the profit, and then what they get, the income divided by total assets. That is how the return on asset is calculated. Again, we have taken the same parameters, done the regression on all these 10 banks, and just try to see what and where they are standing in terms of return on equity, and return on assets. Let me just like present the graph as well to you. So return on equity, we can see the mean of the ratio showed that Axis Bank had the highest profitability, followed by HDFC Bank, whereas ICICI, you see, the lowest in profitability. In terms of growth ratio also, IndusInd Bank occupied the first rank and highest positive growth ratio. BOI has just like having the highest, you can see the growth ratio has the highest negative growth ratio in this one, right? Let me take you to return on assets datas, right? So this is just like a figure data which we are giving on return on asset. Let me take you through graph which will just like explain the situation better. On return on equity, sorry, return on asset, the mean of the ratio, we showed that HDFC showed the highest profitability, followed by Axis Bank, whereas the Canara Bank showed the lowest profitability. In terms of growth rate, IndusInd Bank occupied the first rank with the highest positive growth, and Canara Bank occupied the last rank with the negative growth. So based on liquidity of the bank, these ratios, that is like liquid asset to total asset and liquid asset to total deposit ratios, were used to measure liquidity. Mean of the ratio for each bank was calculated to find out the banks with the highest and the lowest liquidity. The ranking was done on the individual banks on the basis of growth of liquidity by total asset or total deposits. So this all data, this is done on individually, there what how liquid bank is standing in terms of like liquid assets to total assets or liquid assets to total deposits, because deposits are the easy cash which they get in terms if they need to meet the liquidity. So these are again the data which I have. So this data represent in percentage. So rather than giving in percentage, so I have divided this data by their own number, and this is just, so if you convert, if you just multiply by all these figures by 100, you will get it into percentage. I have again taken the mean, growth and ranking on this, so just keeping everything of my secondary research aligned, right? Let me take you through like liquid assets by total assets. So mean of the ratio show that PNB had the highest liquidity and ICICI Bank had the lowest liquidity. Here if you can see, right? So ranking in terms of growth again shows that PNB occupied the first rank. Both Canara and ICICI Bank occupied the last rank because they, so why here I have provided two red indicators, because they both stand in ratio wise at a similar scale. So that is why I just put on red. If you see that PNB, there's hardly anything, it's in points, so you cannot see any like gray scale going there. Liquidity asset by total deposits, as you see that these again are the figures which because usually bank's guideline, RBI guideline is to keep yourself so liquid that in case of emergency, in case of contingency, you should be able to meet your liquid needs. Otherwise, if these guys are like not, all of these banks are not able to meet their liquid needs, they have to go to other bank or to RBI to seek funding. Those like again a very vast study that like repo rate and reverse repo rate, when you keep that funding, or like when RBI increase, but that is not covered in my thesis. But still, if you require, any one of you require any information on these banks or like any terminology, I'm happy to like serve you there, right? Graphical, it is represented as like mean. It shows that ICICI Bank has the highest liquidity, Canara Bank has the lowest liquidity. Ranking in terms of growth rate showed that IndusInd Bank occupied first rank and Kotak Bank, which is like Kotak Mahindra Bank, like we tie up, occupied the last ranking. So this is what the graphical representation of my secondary data which I have conducted on banks for the year 2006 till 2016, or for that 10 years data. Let me just take you through the summary of this research. So from the regression, you can see I've concluded there exists a relationship among the credit risk management and the profitability. In most banks, it seems that NPLR, which is significant, affecting their profitability, which means that profitability could decrease with an increase in NPLR. Because if your NPLR increases, that reduces your profitability, because that profit cannot be further used for funding outside and earn the return. However, that funding is required to keep subside to meet their bad debts, right? So CR, that is like capital adequacy ratio, shows a significant relationship with profitability with an increase in value of CR. Profitability is increasing in certain extent, so CAR affects the profitability of the bank on adverse manner because of the restriction on investment. With the better management of credit risk or liquidity risk, profitability can increase lending. So profound importance can be given to the management of credit risk in banks. Private sector banks overall seem to be performed better in terms of liquidity if we compare these data, because like I have said that I have done group wise data comparison also, where I see private sector banks are like overall perform better in terms of liquidity, because RBI put a strong or stringent guidelines on private banks so that private bank in our economy should not fail, right? Thus on average the impact of credit risk management in private bank is more on profitability compared to public sector banks. I have not mentioned here that I have done a research. Yes, I have mentioned here that NPLR, it is like negatively related to liquidity. I have mentioned a while before, where the increase in NPLR shows a decline in your profitability or your liquidity, right? With the better management of credit risk, liquidity increases and it lowers the liquidity risk. The impact of credit risk management is more on liquidity on private sector bank. From the conclusion, I can say from the perspective of bankers, it can be said that majority of bankers felt that liquidity or credit risk has a high importance in the banking industry. It was also observed that liquidity problems have steadily declined in the last 4 years. That may be due to pandemic situation, but I have not covered that situations here. Majority of the employees felt that credit risk management is the primary function of banking, and responded felt that major reason of liquidity problem can be countered or well covered through auditing and inspection, because we see 65% was covered or was discovered from auditing and inspection. So maximum risky loans are being provided by businesses and industrial, followed by agriculture. We saw 25%, 30% was like industrial, and higher in the business. Again, 40% was there in the businesses. I think 30% was there in the businesses. So all responded agreed that banks should have followed strict credit risk management protocols. Cash flow analysis, liquidity ratios, and liquidity stress tests and contingencies plans have become a like vital area or the cornerstone of the liquidity risk management in the banking. So this paper has compared the liquidity risk measures methodologies in banking, and like jointly it highlighted some theoretical and empirical implications as well on the asset and liability management. Majority banks adapt to live, monitor and manage their exposure for their liquidity risk. Now I have done this research maybe like 3 to 4 years. Let me say, or let me wind up my presentation by saying what can be the future research scope in my study, because like many areas have not been covered or many points have not been covered. Let me just like try to give a glimpse of like what can be the future research scope in my thesis. So this research study, which was very limited to data collected from bank, however there can be many other financial institutions and providers who were relevant to the study. Like I said, like non-banking financial institution I have not covered. So same way for liquidity, these many parameters or like many institutions were not covered, which can be covered in future research scope. There is a vast scope of further study with related to other factors which may be relevant for such risk analysis. Since this study tested only the banking institution, other financial institution can be scoped in for further study in order to compare the result. The role of the bank is to keep the liquidity fund safe, which all know, because your, my, everybody's money as a saving goes in bank, which is our primary saving. We hardly, like those like Tahsildar, Zamindar age, like in 60s and 17, we don't keep fund in our suitcases or like in our walls inside our home. So mostly just our money to grow or to meet at least the inflation growth, we just deposit this money in our banks. So to keep the liquidity fund safe, there has to be like some liquidity risk management strategies which should be followed, which is not covered here. And so there is a need for further research on the role of this important committee with a view to coming up with some sort of recommendation to strengthen the committee's role in the bank. Then only our economy will boost or will be a strong banking environment or strong banking channels. Further research study can be conducted on the factors that influence the liquidity levels of commercial banks in India, which I have like already mentioned here. Future research should be conducted based on the categories of demographic characteristics such as banks ownership, that is private and public. So that can be a like detailed study can be done, foreign, or any size of banks among others. So that size, everything has been excluded, and I've just taken 5 strong bank in the economy, private bank, and 5 strong public bank. That is how I have conducted my research study. Now let me tell you how this research was important. So I'm working in a bank for last 18 to 20 years. I have worked at retail level, corporate division, and at present I'm working in wealth management segment of the bank, which is very elite segment of the retail banking. So there are many segments in the bank, as you all are aware of, like treasury is a separate part, corporate, which gives to like which give loan or like help the small lagu udyogs or like SME, like small and medium enterprises, or the corporate side. Retail, where you and me, people like us, we deal. So retail is a segment where we deal separate, like personal loan, mortgages, where like we take house mortgages, credit cards, or like normal overdraft facilities. So these type of retail. So I work in wealth management segment, which caters the elite segment of the bank, which like ultra high net worth segment, who has like floor level or cap level or at the threshold level minimum balance is maintained. So I cater those customers. So at present I am just working as a product head for asset, that is lending side, and hence you can see indulge in a dealing with finance department, treasury department, funding centers for cost of funds, like COF is cost of funds, so which is like there are how much liquidity bank has, how much bank has. So when bank gives interest rate on your FDs, so those all are considered as cost of funds. So our profit what bank makes has to exclude cost of funds. So if you or me, we go in a bank to take loan, so if our FDs are getting like 6.5 or 7% return, bank will always charge 2%, 3%, 4% higher than our FD rate. That depend on loan to loan. If loan is based on FD, it is just like 2% of the FD rate will be your loan rate or your loan charge. Or if it is just like clean loan, it will be much higher, 13%, 14%, depend, because it like risk what bank is taking is much more or much higher in the retail segment where there is no collateral in place. Why banks are doing that? Because that is how banks are earning money. That is how banks or RBI instruction to bank to help these individuals, you and me, to grow our net worth, support our families, and support the economy to grow. So that is why these banks come into play. I and my team, which is under me, we just like caters wealthy individuals who invest into investment product, and my job profile is to study those investment and provide a bespoke lending proposition. So when we say bespoke lending proposition, that means I study this investment, whether it's like shares, funds, stocks, structured products, or it can be like mutual fund. I study those, I study the rating, and then provide a strength on this security. I provide funding on this one. As a product proposition guy, my thesis has helped me a lot to understand the liquidity risk of the bank. So I think that is how, what about me, my thesis, my findings, my conclusions, and my future scope. So here I just like rest my thesis. Thank you, sir. So please go ahead and ask any like doubt, questions, queries, anything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob. You presented 317 pages thesis and 10 chapters, which covers the major aspect of liquidity risk management second chapter covers about the literature review. Third chapter covers the concept of liquidity. Fourth is types of risk in banking sector. Fifth is a principle of liquidity risk management. Sixth one is all about the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 capital. Second is the analysis of primary data. Eighth one is all about multivariate analysis, and ninth one is a summary, and 10th one is a conclusion.
Right.
Okay. Looking to the, you did first I would like to comment that you did a good job
Thank you.
as far as technical part and data part is concerned. Did you find any major causes of liquidity risk in banking? Which sort of major causes? Based on what are the causes that did you find based on primary study, and what are the causes extracted out of secondary data?
Yeah. So let me just like brief you so that what I've done is like, on the secondary data, I have covered all sorts of reasons and like, causes which cause the liquidity. But in primary data, because
If I am not wrong, you did a banker survey.
yeah. So that is what I'm coming to it. So what I've done is like, in primary data, what I've done is I have gone to these guys, like all my like officials, whether it's like in ICICI Mumbai or like HDFC Jaipur, because I know some of them. So I have done a like questionnaire sort of thing, which has like given them an option like to choose whether there is any like liquidity problem there, or is there like any tool which can manage this. So mostly I have covered whether there is any liquidity problem in the bank, but majority the reason for liquidity has been covered in my secondary data.
Do these SLR and CRR has any concern with liquidity risk?
Sir, like how we covered in our like capital adequacy ratios and all.
Cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio.
Yeah, so there is a direct relation. So if cash reserve ratio, so cash reserve ratio in balance sheet, how they do it is as that reserve ratio which they get it after meeting the bad debt reserve in the balance sheet. So if the moment bank face some sort of liquidity risk, they use this reserve ratio based on RBI's guideline to fund these individuals to cater their needs. But if my problem, liquidity problem, or my like losses, wish to absorb these losses, if I'm like catering through cash reserve ratio, my cash reserve ratios are going down, which is meeting less capability for a bank to give it to the customers.
And did you try to calculate or measure the correlation between because the repo rate is different every year.
Yes.
RBI is monitoring. So did you find out any significant relationship between the repo rate and banking sector profitability?
Sir, I have not done any research on this one, but like hypothetically or theoretically, yes, there is a relation. The moment repo rates are increased, that means bank has to keep higher percentage of their fund which they are dealing outside, so they will left with like lesser or shorter fund to meet the requirement of the public. So yes, it is directly related with the liquidity concern, but I have not included in my research survey. Those that direct relationship I have not done.
We have a repo and reverse repo, which has a direct impact on our banking profitability.
Yes.
So anyway, you did a multivariate analysis. That's a good thing in your thesis. I did found.
Thank you, sir.
Any major cause out of secondary data? Because your let's see, if I go to the primary data analysis, it is a simply graphical presentation and that descriptive statistic.
Right.
So good. You can do the hypothesis testing in that. So that is what the suggestion. But secondary, as far as secondary data analysis is concerned, it's the best because you did a multi-unit analysis and regression equations are developed based
Right.
on
Exactly, sir.
that
Right.
your
Very true. Very true. Right.
for different so liquidity ratios. I think you covered. Let me go through this.
Yeah, sure.
Capital credit risk management in the banks, which covers the capital adequacy ratio.
Yes, sir.
So, do capital adequacy ratio have significant impact on liquidity management or bank liquidity?
Yes, sir. So,
How this capital adequacy affects the liquidity,
okay.
banking liquidity?
So okay, so when we say that capital adequacy ratio, so usually we just take the tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital, and they divided by risk weighted asset. So sir,
What is the difference between tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 capital?
okay, so tier 1, like all the core capital which consists of like equity capital, like ordinary share which they issue in the market, like intangible assets and audited reserve revenue which they see in balance sheet, those are capital tier 1 capital, which used to absorb actually the losses and does not require bank to cease any operation. So tier 1 capital is actually a permanent capital and easily available to cushion the losses suffered by the bank. When you say tier 2 capital, so which is like unaudited retained earnings. So like after audited financials, you see some unaudited retained earnings, unaudited reserve and general loss reserve which they maintain is part of their tier 2 capital. So this is also help to cushion some losses. Hello.
Tier 3 capital?
So all the capital which is like apart from tier 1 and tier 2, they come under tier 3 capital.
Nice. You have conceptually okay. Non-performing loan ratio. Can we call it as an NPA?
Yes, sir. Exactly. Non-performing like NPLR can be termed as like NPAs, because when you say NPAs, these include like cash credit and
You can divide the total loan by NPA by total loan. You will get the non-performing loan ratio.
right.
Am I right?
Right. Exactly, sir.
Okay. So we have a concept of a standard NPA and substandard.
Yes.
What is the difference between standard and substandard?
So like overdraft and cash credit, which they like just like they leave it to the customer. So up to 90 days. So expected payment is that within 90 days this has to be paid, because overdraft when they give, it may not be feasible for individuals to come and give them the credit every month. So they just leave a period up to 90 days. So after 90 days, so these are like all like goes into like up to 90 days, then banks start chasing these customers. So when they start chasing these customers, so they provide up to 180 days. So those are like substandard assets, non-substandard assets. So when bank decide that or bank come to know that this customer is not able to pay anymore, then they substandard it. So that substandard in the banking or RBI term, they call it OLEM.
Okay, nice. Good. Profitability of the banks is measured with the return on ROE and
ROA.
That ROA, return on assets.
Yes, sir.
So, can we include another ratio, net profit ratio, in the profitability to measure the profitability of banks?
Sir, okay. So net profit ratio is like very like good you ask me, because even I was thinking the same, because net profit ratio.
I want a justification why ROE and ROA, not PAT ratio.
Okay.
Profitability ratio.
Okay. So profitability ratio, sir. Every profitability ratio, like just like every bank has a profitability ratio which shows their financial capacity of during that period only. Right. When we say the ratio. Yeah. Yes, sir. So this is just like
return on equity measures the relationship between profit and equity.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Exactly, sir. So it is just like net income divided by the shareholders' equity.
Return on asset measures the relationship between profit and assets.
Total assets, right, sir.
While net profit ratio measures the relationship between profit and revenue.
Exactly, sir.
If I am not.
Exactly.
Total business.
Right.
Revenue business.
Right.
So can we include this third ratio? So at least we can make it sure because some banks are having larger operations, some banks are having mid-size operations.
Yeah, we will
So what
standardize
does
it, right?
how this liquidity can be influenced in case of mid-size operation, larger banks? So that can be measured out of that,
Right,
Mr. Jacob.
right. I'll just
Okay.
note it down, sir. I'll just maybe just try to include something
Yeah.
as well on this.
You can that can be useful to you for the further research.
Right, exactly, sir.
Other-
Exactly.
Otherwise, your thesis is good, very good. I am very much satisfied with your work.
Thank you very much.
Liquidity of the bank is measured through LA ratio, liquid asset to total asset.
Total asset, exactly.
Can you discuss what is the this ratio talk about?
That liquid assets and total assets, sir? Yes, sir. Exactly. I can give you a brief on this one. So liquid assets include cash in hand, balances with RBI, and balances with other bank, because sometimes this bank keep their some cash balance with other banks. So both in India or in abroad, whatever, like SBI, HDFC, ICICI, they have branches in abroad as well, right? So all liquid assets include cash in hand and balances, and money at call and short notice. Those are like liquid assets. But when we say total asset, the ratio arrives by like total asset is included not only liquid assets, it is from total assets also, which cannot be easily converted into liquid in 1 year point of time.
For each bank, you have selected dependent and independent variables and developed a regression, multiple regression for each bank and overall.
Yes, sir.
So, looking to your data, you can have a further research scope of structure equation modeling because very good data. I think it is onwards of 2006-7.
Okay.
So,
So that is also presented in, that is also available, will be in RBI, right, sir?
But what you can do, you can go for the confirmatory and exploratory factor analysis,
Yes, sir.
and you will have a very good research paper. Or you can send it to the Scopus or any others. You can expect a very good research paper out of that data.
Right.
So that is what my suggestion. Another thing, CR, NPLR, price and development variables, ROA of different banks are measured. Now, what is the final conclusion out of this measurement?
So final conclusion, as I said, like if you want, I can just take you through the some factors are already affecting the bank.
You can, yeah, you can take to this if you have any further analysis or.
So just to study the liquidity, which I have here said that cash flow analysis and liquidity rate stress testing. Like after doing the research, I have found that some banks, they are facing liquidity problem with some reason, and some banks are tight on those controls. So not every bank is tight on all the controls. There may be some areas which some banks, like public banks, they give big conglomerate a loan because that is how they have to develop an economy, right? So they are little overexposed on those areas or those segments. So those study I have included in my and done the regression analysis.
One of your findings is there year by year liquidity problem has been decreasing. What is the causes of decreasing liquidity problems?
So liquidity problem decreasing.
Because
I tell you, yes, a very good point, sir. Because the data which I have taken is 2006 and 2007. Those were the year when 2007 where in US recession hit, right? So after recession, bank's model has been changed completely. Not 360 degree, at least 180 degree turn. Reason is because banks who were when we say there are huge banks from 150 years in UK, which they were sitting on their balance sheet saying that we can never fail. Those banks like Lehman Brothers, when they fail, banks are like Basel III. When the Basel III implemented, Basel III is just organization in Switzerland which implements all the guidelines for banking. Well, Basel III implemented, they included many additional factors to strengthen the liquidity so that in case of emergency, this recession cycle should not further come into picture in for future generations. So that is why the liquidity, they have made it so strong and so stringent that these factors, after implementing, this keeps on reducing. That liquidity risk keeps on reducing day by day.
And let's see, the majority of the liquidity problem arise because whatever the financial statement is produced by the clients,
Right.
you see the giant companies are applying for the loans and all these things.
Yes.
So typically they have a stage-wise power to each manager, regional manager, branch manager, and all this.
Right.
But what is happening in this case? Once the financial statements are submitted by the client,
Yeah.
these statements are approved and loan is sanctioned. Once the loan is sanctioned, in case of that, so this is a major problem of credit risk management. But what I did observe, because they are unable to pay, because in India we do not have an audit mechanism once the loan is sanctioned. Two banks do the audit of the client. Nobody does till date.
Right.
That makes the question, because many years when I am going, means what did my observation what regarding the same, because banking major issues arise out of this situation, because once the loan is sanctioned, uh, liquidity means is dropped to the clients and they are unable to pay, and that can be the major cause of liquidity in the banking sector, as per my view,
Yeah, exactly.
because
Right.
we have a no back end audit mechanism to the client.
Right.
Once the loan is sanctioned for 5 years, whatever he wants to do, and whatever banks wants to do, bank do.
So very good point
So
here. Sir, I fully agree with you. So after 2006, what they have done is they have reduced the number of approved auditors. So it is just like in our India, if we say going to any bank, you just get audited from any CA who is an auditor. So banks, after realizing that any CA may not be well versed, or his team may not be well versed with all this criteria, so they have provided a list of approved auditors. Like if you are coming for a loan of this much size, you have to get audited from like list of like 20 auditors or 15 auditors. Exactly, good point, sir.
let's see, Mr. Jacob, the payment is made by the client himself or herself.
Hmm.
So what is the purpose of such sort of audit?
Sir, okay, so any
If
auditor.
I am an organization,
Hmm.
my audit is done by and reports are prepared by my chartered accountant, whom I am paying. So what is the purpose of such sort of audit?
Yeah. So, sir, okay. So here, so when very good point, sir. As you said here, that the auditor which bank provide, we have this listed 10 auditors where bank is comfortable, so he cannot go out and do audit from any of the CA who is sitting next corner, right? So next around our
Otherwise,
house.
he cannot do the much wrong, because more wrong things, because otherwise he will be out of the panel of the banks.
Yeah,
I can understand.
exactly. So
Understand. Do you know about Basel capital accounts? What is the Basel guideline?
So it's like, okay, so Basel is like, sir, it's like an organization who provide guidelines to banks to follow for any sort of lending. Not only lending, for normal day-to-day running of the bank. So where they just provide a risk weighted. They provide that you have to take this risk weight if you provide LCs or guarantees, or these type of risks they assign it in their guidelines. Basel.
We do have a MPBF. I think you might have heard about MPBF, Maximum Permissible Bank Finance.
Right.
MPBF guideline. What is it?
Sir, I have studied
You
this.
know?
Yeah, but I can't recall. But I definitely studied this. I have actually done the course in Basel as well, up to Basel 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just almost been a. I did it from Indian Institute of Banking and Finance in Mumbai, but it's just almost maybe long period, sir. So I just have to get a grip again on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, your recommendations are good, and appendices also added at the last of the chapter. Your, I think, reference is more than, I think, the total number of references are more 200.
Yes,
It's
sir.
a good thing. APA style, you wrote an APA style, and finally, your publications are also, certificates are also added. Uh, Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Jacob.
Thank you.
And
very much.
any panel dignitaries connected over here would like to ask a question in these regards. Yeah, sir. Rathod, sir, would you like to?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon, Patel sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Alex.
Good afternoon, Rathod, sir.
How are you? How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. Fine, thank you. And thanks for all your support, sir, to bring it at this stage.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. I just want to know one thing. Well, metaphorically, I'm asking you. Formally, I should not ask any question. But the thing is that here, the you can say the research horizon was right from 2006 to 2016, right?
Yes, sir.
And if we go through by your graphical representation, then most of the times what we saw that on a scale, right? Maybe it is IndusInd Bank or the HDFC Bank or some other banks are coming. Like 2 banks were the top in most of the ratings, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you see after this, like 2016, in last 5 years, 5 odd years, if we talk about, then do you really see that there have been some changes in maybe the profitability aspect or the credit risk aspect or maybe the liquidity aspect? Like, do you see any changes? Like the things might have changed from your research, like the kind of conclusion you have given?
Yes, sir.
Did you
So,
see, like, especially,
yes,
let me finish it. Yeah, like this once in a century kind of, you can say pandemic kind of situation has just happened, like Corona kind of situation. And I think moratorium kind of things also being given by the Reserve Bank of India, right? Most of the people are finding it very difficult to repay their installment and everything, right?
yes, sir.
So do you see that banks are a little bit, under stress now, especially when it comes to the credit risk or liquidity risk, or they are more apprehensive while giving the loans or whatsoever? You can talk about NPA or NPLR whatsoever. Do you really feel that or reckon the fact?
Yes, sir. So there is a huge change. So when we started, like we know that when we started our research, it was a different research when we started. But during last 2 years in pandemic situation, we have seen a situation gone just upright down. The banks which were functioning, which they were not able to extract some sort of like finance which they have given, that has impacted a lot in last 2 years.
Yeah, and yeah, I just want to ask one more thing. Like, you say, like, would it be really right for you after doing your research that more liquidity means more profit for the bank? Is it true or what, in your sense?
So more liquidity. So here more liquidity does not comprise of profitability, but in a way it is correlated or computed. Only thing here that what I say is like no, here liquidity tenor, which they were looking for a shorter tenor in like before like this pandemic, where they're seeing just 3 to 6 months or a short term period where they were giving more emphasis. Now they have to keep something aside in ratio wise on the medium term and the long term as well.
So what we are hearing from RBI right now, like if you see according to the situation, everybody, even Patel sir would also be agree with that. The inflation is going up, and basically this is the cost push inflation. We've been seeing all the food price inflation, consumer price, or whatsoever we can talk about. But still, I think there is a excess liquidity available in the market. Maybe if we go by the statistics given by the RBI or some other Niti Aayog or economic planning, then they've been saying like there is around 7 to 8 lakh crore rupees, which is accessibly available in the market. But banking or bankers are finding it's very difficult to give it as a loan to the people. That they are having little bit fear in their mind that they would not be getting back as a installment or EMI. So is it really the picture on the ground? Do you really see that after the second wave, especially when it hit India?
Sir, okay, what I feel, from it's my perspective, right? After getting information from that, RBI site or from the banking and from the news, that now indulge in any sort of credit relationship where they feel and they thoroughly check client's background and feel the motive for client to pay it back. So it should not happen. They just end up having given a loan, and then if customer cannot pay it back, because situation today, if customer cannot pay it back, 90% of the situation is because he don't have an ability to pay it back. So that
No, another RBI found is excess liquidity in the market, jack off. So another reason is that because since this pandemic, there is no business growth at all.
right.
Once it is opened up, the economy is opened up because lockdown and all these things, businesses are stopped. And whatever the products and services, products we consume is after storage products. So businesses are not there, and therefore people didn't apply for the loan and all these things. That may be the major cause of excess liquidity in the banking sector.
Okay.
Mr. Jacob.
Right.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, sir. Patel sir, I'm agree with you. But at the same time, like I just heard some people saying like maybe banks have gone a little bit on back foot. They are just thinking that it's easy to be defensive right now. Yeah, of course, people don't want to go for the loan because they're finding it very difficult to stay on there with basic livelihood. Most of people have lost the job and everything. But other than that, this after this what we can call moratorium or what the excessive relax is given by the RBI and everything. Despite of all the facts, I think this is the situation which is happening, especially after this very disastrous second wave. So I was having this curiosity, and I just out of this curiosity wanted to ask him that what's his view about this. Because I think research many parts have changed and conclusion have changed now in last 5 years, especially in last 2 years if I talk about. Right, sir?
Yeah, sir. Agree. Sir.
Yeah. And the last thing that that you said, I think I just want to quote your sentence, Alex. Right? You said that more loan given by a bank would be difficult for, or more worse the situation could be for the bank. Can you elaborate that more, Alex?
Yeah. Yes. Sir.
If a bank is giving or disburse more loan, then how could it be risky for the bank?
Sir, if they just start disbursing the loan just left, right, and center without any proper research, it would be difficult for a bank if they are not able to recoup that investment back.
Yeah, for that they have to have like very strong and stringent screening system right before disbursing the loans, isn't it?
Right.
If their process is very strong and accurate one, then there is no question of NPAs and kind of thing, right?
Plus they are just
Like
trying
especially retail. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. Plus they are what they are trying to do is, rather than going into a concentrated approach, they are just taking it for a diversification so that they can just diversify their funds and their risk is reduced.
Yeah, especially the major risk is in the retail segment, right? Because there is no collateral kind of thing is happening, right? Because retail segment generally banks are giving unsecured kind of loans. So that is the only thing. Otherwise, I think bank if they want, then they can keep it. If we go by the statistics, even among the or between the private and public sector banks, then I find the LDFC is the one who is having the lowest NPAs, right? Non-performing assets. So the process is good. Even though they are disbursing loans, but they are finding a very low kind of NPAs, right?
Yeah.
So all good. And from my side, I'm done. And any panel member want to ask anything that they can ask, this forum is open.
Otherwise, congratulations, Jacob, for successful conclusion of your PhD process. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Alex. Thank you, Patel
Very
sir.
much, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh sir. And thank you for all of the participants to connect with us. And once again, thank you again to Alex and best of luck for your future also.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I just would like to thank my Rajesh sir for helping me choosing the whole research and we have worked on this subject. Would like to thank Gaurav Khanna sir, Manisha ma'am, Pawan sir foremost, and like Mukesh Mawar sir, like during last days of my thesis, you have helped me, guided me along with Rajesh Rathod sir, and like really want to thank like this sir and like Pawan sir, who have like I have bothered a lot. He has helped me a lot in regular guidance, provided time to time, and kept me updated on all stages. Right? So as
Okay, so sweet of
right, sir. So it was really a proud moment for me. One thing I would like to say, it was just like a memorable journey for me rather than just completing my PhD. So once pandemic situation is over, I would really like to come to university to thank you personally, sir.
This is a great day for you to just enjoy, celebrate it, and thank you so much, Mukesh sir. Also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patel sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.